Okay, hopefully you can all hear us okay, and you can see the screen. If Lindsay or Robert even just wants to give us a thumbs up that they can hear us loud and clear. Yeah,
Good stuff.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, well, thank you everyone who's signed up and taken 30 minutes out of their day to join us today. The key kind of message and what we're covering today in the webinar is understanding your traffic channel performance. Everyone in e-commerce knows the kind of three key levers. So we'll kind of just introduce ourselves. It's been a while since I've had a webinar. I'm David Dixon and I head up customer success.
And I'm Richard Fraser and work alongside David as customer success manager.
At IRP, all merchants here today are using the IRP platform. For us, we are very much a merchant first platform, and it's about giving you visibility, control, and profit. And today we're going to cover the key traffic channels, how to work out if a channel is working, how to get better results from your channels, and after all of that, if you're still not seeing the results your business deserves and the growth that you need, we have a solution in the service marketplace. But there's many steps to kind of take before you get to that stage. And traffic is one of the key levers that you have to pull and help you grow your sales. So we'll very quickly cover the maths behind e-commerce, and then we'll be delving into the key traffic channels.
So just keeping in line with other webinars that we've done in the past, we like to sort of keep this at the forefront, just in terms of the maths behind e-commerce. And I suppose it's essentially the same as any offline business in terms of footfall to your store, and multiplied by the average order value, which is the amount the customer would spend when they're in store or online, and multiplied by the conversion rate, i.e. how many customers out of 100 actually purchase. And so when you multiply the three together there, that brings you to your sales total. And you can see in the example there, just in terms of the two calculations that have been done. So top calculation, 422,000 sessions roughly, and bottom calculation, 526,000. And you can see the sales total in green there, just the right-hand side. So on the top, we have 594K, on the bottom, 740K. So by increasing that sessions number by 20%, you're getting about an additional 150K in revenue there. So that's considerable and should always be considered whenever you're trying to really improve, your top level sales there. Just moving on from that then, also in keeping in line with the previous webinars we've done, just looking at profits. So first of all there, you can see your e-commerce sales minus your cost of goods is your gross profit, which is pretty standard again, offline, online, the same thing there, where you're deducting the cost of goods there from sales to get your gross profit. Slightly outside of that then, we look at the e-commerce gross profit. So that's your gross profit minus your traffic spend. So the traffic spend that you'll attribute to all the different channels we'll cover off today, that goes towards your e-commerce gross profit, and it's sometimes referred to within IRP as e-gross profit or EGP. So just if you see those acronyms there, you know what we're referring to. And then finally, your e-commerce gross profit minus your overheads is your net profit, and essentially this is what we're all working towards, getting as much net profit as possible, because otherwise businesses don't exist at the end of the day. So that's really what we're trying to help with there, and trying to grow that net profit as much as possible.
We will be sharing a copy of the slides afterwards. There's a number of resources throughout the presentation, and on this slide you will have a link out to the IRP white paper, which shows you how you calculate your profit in real time using IRP Trader. The key traffic channels, as Richard mentioned there, your variable traffic cost is really the biggest thing that impacts your profitability as a business. And it's probably, but there's always multiple parties involved, with service providers, with agencies, and the channel themselves: Google, Facebook, TikTok, Microsoft, email marketing, etc. And each of those businesses have their own narrative. They have their own business, and they're trying to obviously make as much money in their business as possible. You want your costs to be as low as possible while still growing your sales. So the biggest players certainly are Google and email marketing. It's the two biggest channels, as you can see from the right-hand side of the graph. You do have direct and organic there. We turn both of those into one group called direct, as you don't have any paid tracking links, and you have about 25% of your sales coming from there. We will be running a webinar in a couple of weeks that will show you how to maximize the opportunity you have available there, and utilizing IRP Commerce Cloud. But today will really be focused on the paid channels, Google, email, Microsoft Bing, Facebook, etc., and what those channels make up in terms of the percentage of your overall sales. But certainly, Google is the number one traffic channel. Over 95% of IRP merchants rely on Google PPC to grow their business. Over 55% of merchant sales are coming from Google. And we always look at CPAs on a monthly basis, and looking at on IRP merchants, an average CPA of channel Google is 14.81%, but we have businesses operating and are growing, running at a CPA of 2%. But at the other end of the scale, we have merchants here running at nearly a 47% CPA, and overall channel sales are up 2.74% overall. And these kind of benchmarks are kind of make you think, is my channel performing? Is there room for improvement? And we'll delve into that later on. The second largest channel is email marketing, and 100% of IRP merchants use IRP Marketing Cloud. Although only around 8% on average of merchant sales come from email marketing. The lowest CPA, and this is obviously based on your cost in terms of number of sends, is 0.1, and the highest CPA is around 47%. But to kind of give an indication in terms of the scale, we have merchants who are bringing in sort of 40% plus of their monthly revenue from email, and at the bottom of that, there's merchants only 1 or 2% of their sales come from email. And we see email marketing as a massive opportunity for our merchants. And that's where you'll be working with your internal teams, with your account managers to build that out.
In addition to that, just actually on the email marketing, obviously there 100% of merchants are using IRP Marketing Cloud. We've talked about net profit there. Email marketing from month to month there, whenever we look at IRP stats when they're published monthly, we do see that as the most profitable channel. So we'd really just try and encourage you to use the IRP Marketing Cloud as much as possible there to try and drive that, that profitability for the business.
And an IRP Marketing Cloud gives you the ability to connect with your customers time and time again and build that customer lifetime value. And as we see the digital space moving towards more first-party data, this is going to be critical as you own that data. An encouraging stat is email marketing sales are up 17% year on year, so moving in the right direction. But we do see a lot of merchants with potential to improve their email marketing. And then affiliate marketing, we would see that as the number 3 channel. So if you've absolutely maxed out Google, your email is running operation really well, then affiliates is maybe something you should consider. And around 40% of merchants use affiliate channels. There's a number of players in the market, including Awin, WebGains, and Connectia. Overall, about 8% of sales are coming from the affiliate channel, and it is pretty much in par in terms of driving similar sales to last year. Affiliate marketing has an average CPA of around 9.76%, lowest CPA of 4.7, and a highest CPA of 16.6. Channels 4 and 5, you have Microsoft advertising, which is Bing. It brings in around 3% of sales, has a slightly higher average than Google at 18.86. But again, that range in terms of lowest CPA of 1.5 to the highest of 64. It really does depend on your audience and your customers, but certainly for an additional 3 to 5% of sales, it is something that you should be exploring with your PPC agency. And then the 5th channel in terms of driving actual revenue to your site, there's only about 31% of merchants using Facebook advertising. About 2.12% of sales are coming from Facebook. It has an average CPA of 124%, a lowest CPA of 12, and a high of 429. And channel sales are down 42% on last year. Now, in fairness, we have seen a number of merchants pull back on their Facebook spend. It hasn't had really any effect on their overall sales, but it is very much top of funnel. But when we look at how do we actually improve these channels, we'll be speaking around how do you get the most out of Facebook and where it should fit on your strategy. And then the last channel we just wanted to touch base on was TikTok. We built out the TikTok API integration last year, and we have the shopping feeds there as part of IRP Feed Manager. And again, it's useful to use this data. Look at the channel. Is it something that you can be using? But what we're seeing is minimal return from this as a channel. But again, there's a big audience there, and if you have the content, it may be worth exploring that channel.
So David's obviously covered off the different paid traffic channels that are available to you within IRP. So it's all well and good if these channels are functioning and you're using them. But next you need to know really how to analyze those channels and to understand if they're working for you or not. So the first screen here, the first screenshot I have presented here is actually from within the channel summary within Trader. So you get a really good breakdown of your channel sales there. So just looking at your costs, your sales, your CPA, and also just pointing out within this slide percentile on the right hand side. So the percentile actually relates to your growth figure obtained versus all other merchants there, and that'll be on the agency or the service provider there to have you sitting in as high a percentile as possible. So after defining your sales target for the year, you should define a target CPA. This target CPA figure should be well within your gross profit margin, and that should allow you enough room for overheads. And at the end of the day, that results in satisfactory amount of net profit for you. So you can use channel summary with an IRP Trader to analyze your defined CPAs being reached per channel. So you can see there we've got email marketing, PPC, web gains, Bing and Yahoo, and Facebook paid. Pretty self-explanatory there if you're looking at the table. And then finally, you can make a decision there. What kind of channels do you really want to push? Are there potential channels that you might want to drop, down the line if the CPA there is not obtainable and you're not profitable? You can make a decision using this screen. Just moving on then. So the next screen we're looking at here is actually sales analysis within Trader. Again, massively powerful in terms of the data that are being returned in relation to your traffic sources. This is probably one that agencies, merchants maybe aren't really aware of or don't really use that much, and it's actually one that I would encourage you to be looking at quite a bit. So first of all, like identifying how your channels are performing probably year on year. So I know, speaking to most merchants want to grow their figures, from year to year and make sure things are progressing in business. So first of all, set a time period there. You can see in the left hand side, I've sort of highlighted these in red. So set the time period that you want to analyze, and then set your comparison date there at the bottom. Next of all, then you have the traffic source up sort of top central there. So we can see, like I've clicked on the IRP email marketing. Below that, you'll get a table actually showing you, views, costs, sales, profit margin relating to each of those products. And then finally, on the right-hand side there, you see sort of a breakdown of your overall traffic sources. These are all sort of figures that are given by IRP partner IDs, and providing that the partner IDs have been appended there correctly within each of your channels, and traffic's all been tracked all the way through there from whatever third-party system that the user or the visitor has clicked through on. Then the sales figure that you see within IRP will be as close to perfect as possible because it's first party. And just moving on from that, then further on from that, another probably chart view that most merchants and agencies maybe aren't aware of, and particularly useful actually if you don't have access to your AdWords account, your affiliate account, your Microsoft Bing account there. You can actually see your performance within IRP.
You have to have accepted, or maybe you can just click through it. I'll pass on to you.
So sorry guys, can the guys at Lee Valley mute there, please?
Oops.
Apologies. So yeah, just looking at the sales figures per channel. So just come back on that, third party channels, a lot of our merchants don't actually have access to those because you're dependent on the service provider just to essentially spend your money, meet the target CPA and hit the sales figure. But within sales analysis here, you can actually monitor, if that traffic's growing, if it's in decline, or and so forth, and then make decisions on what you want to do per channel afterwards. And then lastly, they're just looking at your performance and how to analyze that. Another very useful full screen within the IRP Trader is the positions tab. So you can see the example on the screen here. We've got this particular merchant who's using Facebook paid, and they're also using Google PPC. So on the left-hand side, you have your sales figures, you have your costs in the middle, and then you have your CPAs. Now, ideally, you want to see proportional lines here where if costs are up, sales are up and CPA is actually maintained. So CPA is not rising. You're not spending more money, but you're still obtaining the same level of sales there. So that's really useful in just defining, you know, that your channels are actually profitable for you, and those can all be found within the positions tab.
Okay, so the next area we're going to cover off is, we've kind of walked you through what are the key channels, what channels you're in, how do you actually get better results from that, in relation to Google, to email marketing, affiliates, Facebook, or and any other channel you may be in. So IRP has recently redesigned and released the IRP Feed Manager. The Feed Manager gives you access to over 180 feeds that connect into all of the key channels. Small things that you and your account manager can be working on in conjunction with your service provider is ensuring your feeds are up to date. IRP are always investing in the specifications and making sure they match the latest Google standards. You should always be monitoring Google Merchant Center. Some merchants have started to use Google Merchant Center feed rules, and a couple of reports that Google have recently enabled within some merchants' accounts is the price competitiveness reports. And again, it's to give an indication when you're on Google, someone's looking to buy a product. One of the biggest deciding factors really is around price. Google can give you a good snapshot at an international feed level, in that in the UK, your prices might be pretty much spot on, but in Ireland, you might be too expensive. So it's always important to make sure your data, the connection, sorry, there's just been a few comments in the chat. We will be sharing a recording straight after, so if anyone is having an issue, we'll record it, okay? So Google, in terms of Merchant Center, is something you'll need to be accessing regularly, not just to view your product submissions, but any errors, missing GTNs, or anything that could be impacting your overall performance. As I was saying there, the price insights reports, I would recommend everyone on the call and everyone listening to the webinar later, go into your Merchant Center and make sure that is enabled. And we've been speaking to a few merchants recently, and they haven't actually had that turned on. But that will give you an indication of, are your products priced competitively? Are you too cheap? Are you too expensive? And that would kind of be one of the key areas to focus on. And a recent example with a merchant doing very well in the UK, but Ireland wasn't growing at the same rate. And we've seen that benchmark prices are a wee bit too expensive in the Irish market. So that was the kind of first action that they took. We always chat about the three levers: traffic, conversion, AOV. Conversion also impacts and relates to your ads. And the biggest influence that you can have on your click-through rate and your conversion rate from ads is your messaging. Google have recently released a tool called Google Ads Transparency, and it gives you a visual representation of all your ads, but also gives you a visual representation of all your competitors' ads. And we will share that in the resources after this session. But again, you need to be thinking, well, why is someone going to click my ad? If someone's looking for a specific product and you're competing against 10 other retailers, you really need to give them a genuine reason why they should come to your site, first of all. And then once you've got them on site, it's up there to get them to convert. So ensure as well, when it comes to Google, your advertising, your CPA, that your service providers and your account manager are fully aware of your margins per brand, per category. And you will want to tie that into your strategy, and that you can be a bit more aggressive on brands that you have a good margin on, and you might want to pull back slightly on categories or brands where your margin isn't just as strong. Or if you know that you're too expensive on a couple of brands, then don't be pushing those and wasting too much budget on those. Email marketing. We did have a email marketing webinar that covered this in great detail, and we'll share the link to that afterwards. But IRP Email Manager is a first-party data tool that lets you to build high quality email lists, segment those, and craft engaging email content, utilizing the automated email flows, drop basket analysis, and there's so much functionality and ability you have within the IRP Email Manager to grow those sales. We would see typically A 10% of sales would be a good benchmark for anyone who isn't quite hitting that at the minute. As I said earlier, we have merchants who get 30 to 40% of their revenue every month from that. And again, it's important not just to send product emails every day, every week. You want to be looking at targeted mail shots, but looking at lifestyle and storytelling emails. You really need to build that engagement with your customer and nurture them to increase the lifetime value. And it is about sending the right emails. And after this, I would encourage you to kind of sit down with your account manager and look at, well, what are the email sends? Are we sending the right content? Is this something our merchants and our customers are actually going to understand and actually click through and buy from? And as I say, we will reshare the email marketing webinar, as a lot of great content was covered during that session. And then the third channel is around affiliates. It is first and foremost a business decision to make sure, is affiliates right for you where you are in your business journey. Using Feed Manager, always make sure the feeds are up to the latest specification. And to say, work with your service providers and account managers to understand, is affiliate market right for us? Will it add to your revenue and bring in incremental revenue and maybe not just steal other revenue? And that's where the IRP attribution is very, very important. And just a word of warning, if you are using affiliates or thinking about using affiliates, be very, very careful of spammy affiliates and too many discount-led publishers. We've seen when affiliates is done well, it can have massive impact and help get new audiences to your site and convert. But just be careful of kind of what publishers you're working with. But again, there's lots of IRPs, agencies and service providers who are tried and tested in the affiliate channel. And then you have Microsoft advertising. Again, if you have it enabled, will look at adding 3 to 5% of revenue. A lot of service providers will rely on what they're using Google for. In terms of campaigns will be shared, but again, make sure there is specific partner IDs and just ensure accurate reporting. And then Facebook, obviously, maybe some of the stats I shared earlier will have been slightly alarming in terms of a CPA of 128% or over 120%. Facebook, obviously, there's such a large audience on there. The general consumer doesn't go to Facebook to buy your products, but if you have the right messaging, the right ad, the right offer at the right price, you can get good revenue from the channel. But again, you can analyze your competitors very easily with the Meta Ads library. We've seen some merchants stop regular advertising on Facebook, but they'll use it when they have a strong offer that's likely to convert, or for remarketing. If you are spending a lot of money on Facebook and maybe not seeing the return, I would encourage you to kind of dig into your account and have a look at the attribution models that Facebook do have. Obviously, Facebook's attribution model is very generous to them, but they do have like a 1-day click, a 7-day click, and a 30-day click. And you will see a massive variation across those. So definitely, it is one to look at. And is the money being spent there worthwhile, or would it be better spent in another channel where you may get more return? But certainly for key promotions, we are seeing for the right brand, the right product, decent returns from Facebook. And then sort of overall, sort of how do you get better performance? What are we seeing working for our merchants? Obviously, traffic is one of the fundamentals to growing any e-commerce business. We have looked, obviously we're in August, we've looked at, well, what have our most successful merchants been doing this year? What are ones who aren't growing quite as well? And really the biggest and one key takeaway we think every merchant should take is open communication is key with your service providers, with your account managers and your agencies, in that if something isn't working, or actually if something's going really, really well, make sure that everyone knows that. Make sure you have an agreed target that for each channel that's aligned to your overall business goals. Use trader data. It's the most accurate source out there, and everything is based on data. You'll want to use trader to analyze and improve. If you have a really high return rate on certain products, then feed that back to the service provider and there's no point wasting money on those products. And with everything we've chatted about messaging, conversion, always be constantly testing, iterate, and improve. And it is all that continuous improvement is what is going to help your business grow and ensure it continues to move in the right direction.
So just moving on from what David said there, and this is just going further into what you can do if your channels aren't performing. So you'll see their first point is try again to get the team to perform. And so e-commerce is very much a team game, and it's important to team work together to move everything in the correct direction and to increase the business owner profits. The first step is to ensure the team are working together in an efficient manner. Use the action plans, and that essentially drives accountability within the business. So assign different tasks relating to traffic conversion, average order value. Assign it to a member of the team, whether it be the agency, David, myself, or whether it's within the business, and set a date there and just make sure that you're constantly sticking to those dates and trying to move things forward. Agencies and service providers are paid for a service, and it's important that it's delivered to as high a standard as possible and to increase your business profits. You can use the service marketplace to select service providers based on performance. If you aren't happy with performance, as David mentioned, it's important to be honest with your agency and service providers. We're in a business, and it's better everyone is aware of the true position and performance. A joint plan can be put in place to ensure everything is moving in the right direction. And you should be able to have open and honest conversations with all service providers when it comes to performance. If something isn't working as much or as good as it could be, then your service provider or agency needs to know, and they may have a solution to help you work through any of those problems. Sometimes we find that merchants maybe keep issues to themselves. It's better to have everything out on the table there, and so as the service provider is completely aware and try to work towards a solution. And then finally, continually monitor the performance data on Trader. So any of the sort of solutions that have been put forward or the traffic channels that have been covered, access the relevant areas there within Trader, within mission control and sales analysis to ensure and track that things are improving, from month to month there, and that things just haven't become stagnant and you're continually having issues there and things aren't moving forward. So just moving on from that then, we've mentioned the service marketplace in the last slide. So a service marketplace essentially drives innovation, competition, and profit. The idea of the service marketplace is that it's in the agencies and service providers' best interest to do their best in achieving the results for their merchants. So if they achieve good results, this is visible within IRP Trader, it's visible within IRP World. Everyone has access to that data and can see performance for those different agencies. So off the back of that, if their performance is good, then it stands them in good stead to be working with other merchants, down the line. So it does them better to, try and improve and drive their performance as much as possible. And then finally, just looking at benchmarking service providers. So the IRP service marketplace brings people, data, and profit together. So whenever we combine the three there, that essentially drives profits and good sales revenue for our merchants. The guesswork is removed. So the merchants keep or trade service providers based on their performance and contribution to profit. So whenever they're constantly benchmarked, everyone has an idea of how everyone else is performing in the market, and based on the percentile performance there, merchants can make educated decisions on who they actually want to work with. And then finally, just looking at a few success stories here where merchants have moved service provider, or who have actually moved account management or worked using through the service marketplace, have worked efficiently there, and in most cases that has driven very, very positive results.
And then just to kind of the final slide we kind of referenced throughout, obviously there is a lot of IRP resources out there in terms of IRP World. You have the white paper, Profit in Real Time, explanation of the service marketplace. On the 15th of every month, we do publish the e-commerce market data. So that will be published this afternoon. You'll get an email around that. I would encourage you all to kind of connect with us on LinkedIn, and do log into IRP World to see the latest information and stats. IRP is about connecting people, data and profit. Just past 2:30, Richard and I would like to thank you everyone for taking the time to join today. We will stop the recording, but we do have a few minutes for questions if anyone has any.